It's movie night at the Silver Age Cinema. We're climbing out of Day of the Dead's bunker into land's crumbling city, where the dead aren't the only ones taking over. But first, oh! A small group of survivors hide deep underground, clinging to what's left of order while the world above is long gone. Scientists are trying to make sense of the undead, convinced there's something left to learn.
They can be tricked into being good little girls and boys, the same way we were tricked into it, on the promise of some reward to come.
The soldiers meant to protect them are restless, angry, and ready to explode.
Why else will they do what we want them to do?
I don't want them to do anything but drop over!
In the middle of it all, tension builds as lines blur between command and chaos. But outside the bunker, the dead aren't just waiting. They're changing, learning, and pushing closer by the hour. When trust collapses and control slips away, survival isn't just staying alive. It's about remembering what it means to be human.
George A. Romero's Day of the Dead.
George A. Romero takes Day of the Dead in a darker, more grounded direction. The world's gone cold, and so has the tone. Before this, he made Monkey Shines, a tense story that proved he can mess with your head, even without zombies. Romero said Day was his favorite of all the original trilogy.
I used to have a van that had a TV in the back seat for the kids. And they put on Day of the Dead. And so in the front seat, I'm driving and I'm listening to it. And you know what? It works as a radio show. I mean, it completely works as a radio show. And I was cracking up. And particularly at Joe. I mean, some of those lines when maybe it softens it a little when you're not looking at him. But I thought it was terrific. I still think it was the way to go.
Laurie Clarendon plays Sarah, the level-headed scientist trying to keep her sanity while everyone else caves in underground. During filming, that opening nightmare scene went sideways. The fake wall of zombie R's actually collapsed on her, sending half the extras tumbling down. They had to rebuild it from scratch, sturdier this time. Terry Alexander brings John, the laid-back pilot who feels like the last sane man left in the apocalypse. He even took flight lessons before filming so he'd look convincing behind the controls. Not bad for a guy stuck underground most of the time. Joseph Pilato brings Rhodes, the unhinged military leader whose temper turns every scene into a powder keg. Pilato later joked that he only got the part because the budget got slashed in half. When Romero couldn't afford a big-name star, he unleashed this one-man meltdown instead. Garlath Conroy brings McDermott, the worn-out radio man who keeps cracking jokes just to stay sane. In one scene, he mutters, "All the shopping malls are closed," a sly wink back to Dawn of the Dead, and proof Romero never missed a good inside joke.
It's Stephen's story time.
Raising my kids, I'd always been the cool dad, showing them movies that they were probably too young for and ultimately traumatized them. It would work out for me one day. After starting work at 4 a.m., I came home and told my youngest he needed to take a nap, and he refused. I was super tired and laid down with him when he tells me, "When you fall asleep, I'm getting out of bed." Without hesitation, I told him, "If you get out of bed, my zombie buddies are going to get you." 5 minutes later, everyone was sound asleep. That's parenting 101. Back to my review. Day of the Dead drops us towards the end of civilization. What's left of the living are hiding underground, while the dead ruled the world. Scientists are trying to make sense of the zombies, soldiers are losing patience, and the whole setup feels like it's ready to explode. It's less action than Dawn, but heavier on tension and dread. Sound design keeps everything on edge, and Tom Savini's gore work is next level. grimy, creative, and still shocking. Bub the zombie ends up being the most human part of the movie, which nails Romero's whole point about who the real monsters are. You could feel the smaller budget, but it makes the film tighter, meaner, and more focused. My enjoyment rating for this dark, paranoid movie is an A-.
When are you going to show us something that we can understand?
Years after the world fell to the undead, humanity's survivors have built a new kind of society, one divided by walls and money. The rich live safe above it all in a fortified tower.
Zombies, man. They creep me out.
While everyone else fights for scraps in the streets below. A group of mercenaries run dangerous missions outside the city, scavenging supplies and testing how far the dead have evolved.
They're communicating, they're thinking.
But as the living grow crueler, the dead grow smarter. The balance starts to crumble. When the walls finally fall, no amount of power or privilege can buy a way out. The world didn't end, it just changed who's in charge. George A. Romero returns 20 years after Day of the Dead with Land, bringing the zombies into a slicker, more modern apocalypse. After this, he closed the series with Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead, smaller digital takes on the apocalypse. Romero was so impressed by Shaun of the Dead that he invited Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright to cameo as chained-up zombies.
I'm used to making these movies, just trying to convince friends to come and be in this thing. And all of a sudden, Dennis Hopper and John Leguizamo and Ozzy and John Simon want to do it? I'm going, you're crazy, but come ahead.
Simon Baker plays Riley, the level-headed leader trying to keep humanity from eating itself. After this, he stood out in The Devil Wears Prada, the stylish satire. He took the part partly because he had never done a horror movie before, and mostly because he wanted to work with George A. Romero. John Leguizamo stars as Cholo, the hustler who thinks he can buy his way out of the apocalypse. Before this, he made his mark in Carlito's Way, the crime drama with Pacino. He did a lot of his own stunt driving here, even taking the wheel of Dead Reckoning truck when the crew begged him not to. Dennis Hopper plays Kaufman, the cold-blooded businessman running the last scrapes of civilization. Before this, he tore through Blue Velvet, David Lynch's dark drama. Romero later joked that Hopper's cigar budget alone cost more than the entire Night of the Living Dead. Asia Argento steps into Slack, the tough survivor who's had enough of being anyone's victim. Before this, she made her mark in Triple X, the action flick opposite Vin Diesel. She's also the daughter of Italian horror legend Dario Argento, who co-produced and co-composed Dawn of the Dead, bringing the family full circle back into Romero's world.
What the hell?
What the hell could be worse than being the living dead? How about being a living dead and still working? Even as a zombie, the man is trying to keep us down. Anyways, back to my review. Land of the Dead finds Romero back in the director's chair with more money to burn and a bigger world to destroy. The scale jumps way up, but the old school bite is still there. The city looks filthy and alive, lit up by neon and decay, and the night shots give it a great lived-in atmosphere. The practical effects are nasty in all the right ways, even if the CGI hasn't aged great. Big Daddy is the new standout, carrying that same spark Bub had back in day. The cast is stacked, easily Romero's most polished lineup, but the movie still plays like his scrappy spirit never left. Land isn't as raw as his early work, but it's clever, stylish, and a damn fun return to form. My enjoyment rating for this grim, punchy movie is a B-.
Don't do this to me. Don't.
Well, that was a great way to close out Romero's Dead series. What do you think, bub? Big Daddy? I felt the exact same way. Here's a link to the first half of this series and another classic horror double feature. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time at the Silver Age Cinema.